And we're back again here, episode number 57, uploaded and coming at you as we're hanging out still in Las Vegas, Nevada, chilling in the hotel suite as we have another couple days with baseball. And of course, if we're in Las Vegas, we're only thinking about how we're going to play. Let's play. Let's get some action. 2 weeks from now, we'll be cashing our Kentucky Oaks tickets, so we'll get ready for that. But we've also got to continue to prep for what's happening with the Kentucky Derby, also coming up in 2 weeks. And so when you're inside of this window, 2 weeks until the big day, the only thing that really matters is the trainer. What are their methods? What are they doing? And does it work? So with that, I want to talk to you about which Kentucky Derby trainers you trust, right? Who do you feel like, you know what? There's always going to be a situation, right, where you get a Gustavo that wins, you get a Sheriffs that wins, you get a Eric Reed that wins with a price that you may not have been expecting. But for the most part, you have to kind of start somewhere, and then you kind of branch out from there in terms of what you're looking for from the horse, what prep races they're being pointed to, how they're being shipped out, and why. Let's talk about my top 5 Kentucky Derby trainers, the 5 trainers that I trust, meaning I might not bet them, but I trust that their horses are going to do what I think they're going to do when I'm handicapping the race, if that makes any sense. And number 1 on the list is always going to be Big Day Bob. I love Bob Baffert, and I have never bet a Bob Baffert horse in the Kentucky Derby in my life. But I love that dude. I love the way he trains. I love the fact that I can trust that his horses are going to be ready to go. I love the fact that I know why he's doing what he's doing. And here's what I mean. This year is really indicative of how Bob has really sort of learned from the number 2 guy on the list, the master, Dwayne Lucas. But what Bob did is put his horses through the fire, right? If you remember at the beginning of the season, even last year, Getaway Car, Madaket Road, Citizen Bull, they're fighting each other. Then they started the year fighting each other, and he threw Barnes and Rodriguez into the mix. So then all 5 of those are fighting. And they were in some of the same races together, and I loved that. And then he would start to ship them off to different spots to see if they could handle themselves, right? Shipping Getaway Car out, shipping Madaket Road out, and seeing, okay, can you handle this? And then finally sending Rodriguez out, finding a spot in the wood and saying, you know what? I don't think they've got enough speed. And he took it to Captain Cook and the rest of those horses, and it worked. And so now here we are 2 weeks to Kentucky Derby, and Bob has 2 legitimate horses. Even though I think Citizen Bull might be tired, that horse is still going to fight. He's going to pop out of the gate, and he's going to fight on the front end. He's going to have to fight with Rodriguez. That's for sure. And I think that Rodriguez is more intriguing because he's the fresher horse, right? He's the newer face. He hasn't gone through those battles that Citizen Bull went through that might be catching up to him right about now. But I know for a fact, and it goes back to a discussion I had with Bob Baffert when I was working with Fox on the Best Damn Sports Show, period. And they're like, hey, you're the only one that knows horse racing. You have to do the interview. I'm like, okay, sure. So it's me and actor Tom Arnold, who's a really good guy. He was really good to me. He and I are talking to Bob. And then Bob kind of ignores Tom and says, Ken, listen to me. Ken, listen. It's like, you're the only one that understands this. He's like, listen, my horse, War Emblem, is the quickest horse in the field. They're not going to catch him, Ken. There's no way. Now, I was a dummy. I didn't listen. But from that moment on, I was like, okay, I have to really pay attention. So Bob is always a person that I trust that his speed horses are going to be ready to go. And even if I don't bet him, I like his horses. Then there's the master. Dwayne Lucas hasn't won a Kentucky Derby since 1999. But I don't give a damn what anybody says. That man has forgotten more about training than everybody else will ever know. And the one thing that he is really great at is putting his horses to the test, finding a right spot for them and letting them flourish, right? And so there are certain horses, like American Promise is an intriguing horse, and I would not be surprised if American Promise wins the Kentucky Derby. I just wouldn't. I'm not going to play that horse because I'm not quite sure exactly if he wants to be up in the front end or if he wants to rate. I'm pretty sure he's going to sit off the pace, and that makes that horse dangerous because, man, Dwayne is just incredible. And even, I remember having a long discussion with him back getting ready for the old El Camino Real at Bay Meadows. And Dwayne Lucas said, hey, I want to buy you lunch. And he knew that I was new. I didn't really know a whole lot. And he bought me lunch, bought me a cheeseburger and a Coke. I still remember that to this day. And we sat there for like an hour and a half. And he just told me, here's what I do when I'm looking for a horse. Boom, 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 boom. And here's what I want. Boom, 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 boom. And I was like, holy smokes, that makes total sense. And part of what he told me is I have to put them through the fire. I have to see if they can handle stuff that's over their head right now. Because if they can, then I know they can handle the ridiculous chaos of the Kentucky Derby. And it works for him. Then on the list is Doug O'Neill. Man, I love Doug O'Neill. He's a really, really great person and an outstanding trainer. And he knows what to do when he gets a good horse. And that's why I like him. And he doesn't have as many top horses as the other guys on this list. So that's why when Doug has a horse, you really, really pay attention. Whether it's I'll Have Another or Nyquist, like you really pay attention. He's an outstanding conditioner. He'll be back on the Derby Trail in no time. Then there's Steve Asmussen. And these last two guys on the list, Steve and Todd, they probably get more runners than anyone else. And it's not Steve's fault that he hasn't won yet. He's been in position to win so many times, and it just hasn't worked out for him. I'm not even remotely joking when I say Tiz-tastic might be his best chance, because that horse is just going to be running all day long. And Steve just does a great job. He's so nice and so humble. He does a great job of placing his horses in races, right, and getting them into the right spot. So I trust that he's going to get his soon. No doubt. He might get it this year. I'm hoping, because Tiz-tastic is my top pick. And then there's Mr. Todd Pletcher. I don't think anyone has saddled more Kentucky Derby runners than Todd Pletcher. He's been able to win it a couple times. Always Dreaming, Super Saver. Man, he's a really great trainer. And what he's doing with Grande, I think, is intriguing as well. So I think that he could be in the mix to win. I like that horse quite a bit. But Todd Pletcher, he gets a lot of horses. And I think maybe he could possibly benefit more from kind of adopting his former boss's mentality with Dwayne Lucas, with really pressuring his horses more. He spots his horses, where he puts them in situations where they're not really going to run into top-notch competition at that time. But then the problem is when they get to the real competition, sometimes we see his horses are not quite good enough. So we'll see what happens with that this year. But what's important is that you understand the trainer's MO. And then if you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it, then you can kind of either pick their horses or you kind of work around their horses. You know what the threat is and you know how to beat that threat. Okay? So I remember when I had Giacomo, main reason was I love Giacomo, but there also wasn't a Bob Baffert threat in that year. And so I felt fairly confident that I could get a setup from the other speed horses that were in the race. And I just didn't think that Bob had anything that was a threat that particular year. So that's kind of how you use those guys to help you with your selections. Okay, so we continue to make our way. Let's take a look at what's happening. Once again, your Kentucky Derby leaderboard. We still love Tiz-tastic. We're looking at horses that we think will be involved in the pace early on, right? We know Burnham Square, all these guys, just good-looking horses. Love Tiz-tastic. Cole Battle's going to be in the mix. Final Gambit's going to be flying like crazy with Sovereignty. They're all going to be flying like crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see who gets the setup. Citizen Bull, Owen Almighty, East Avenue. I'm hoping American Promise goes, but I got a funny feeling he's going to rate. Admire Daytona's got no choice. You got to go, bro. And then we'll see what Luxor Cafe does. Flying Mohawk will be doing just that, flying, but I don't think he's remotely good enough. Grande will be in a good spot, and I think that horse is going to be very, very intriguing just to see, if he can continue to develop, because he's really developing right before our very eyes. And then there's, the Mataket Road and Built. So listen to me. So Mataket Road's in. They want to run, and I'm like, whatever, have your party. And Built, if you go back and look at how Built ran in the Louisiana Derby, he was right there. And then he just completely gave it up in the stretch. So he's so inconsistent. I think he's just showing the connections. Hey, man, I don't want to go this far. So I'm hoping that they'll come to their senses with Built, and they'll be like, look, man, this is not for us. And I hope they'll make that decision soon enough. And then Neo Equius and Render Judgment, I don't even know. They said they want to run. Neo Equius, they said if they get in, they're going to run. I don't know why, but everybody wants to be at the party. Okay, that's cool. But I'm telling you right now, that horse can't win. And folks, Beza's not going to get in the race. So knock it off. He's not going to get in. Just leave it alone. Wait for that horse to come back his next time. You're wasting your time and your energy on a horse that's not going to get in. Just because you want something to talk about. Don't do that. Be smarter than that. All right, let's keep it moving. We want to get down to business. We talk about this every day. One bet per day. If it comes through, great. If it doesn't, it's only one bet, right? Let's go to Keeneland. Race number 10. It's the Friday play of the day. It's the number 7 Aspen Dawn as they go a route of ground on the turf course. Johnny V in the irons. This horse is a great closing kick. 110 you see there on the late kick. 6-1 morning line. Mark Cassie's outstanding. Quality Road. Come on, look at that pedigree. And there's some speed. So Irad Ortiz has speed to the inside. And then there's speed all the way to the outside with Junior Alvarado. And then there's a sprinter that's stretching out in the middle. I just need 2 of those to hook up a little bit. Because Aspen Dawn just needs a little setup. Now there is a threat. Alamara is the number 10 with, I want to say, Flavien Prat or Florent Giroux, one of those 2 riding that horse. And that's a threat, right? That 10 is going to be a threat. Yeah, Flavien Prat is Alamara. And that's the only one I'm worried about, but there won't be as much value on that runner. So I think if Johnny can get this runner in the clear, if they turn for home and Johnny wheels out with the 7, count that money. Count that money. Because Johnny's going to run them down. Horse has got a great turn of foot. And that's what I love about turf runners, right? It's one thing to find some speed, and that's always fun. But I just love a turf horse that gets covered up, settles, and then they sweep that sucker out and they start to kick in. It's just a beautiful thing to see on the turf. You've all seen it. It's pretty awesome. Hopefully we'll be able to cash, and we'll be talking about it again next time we see you. All right, that's going to do it. In the meantime, in between time, and until next time here on Horse Race Bets, I'm Ken Rudolph. Really, seriously, have the best time today. Have a great, great weekend. Good luck, and enjoy whatever you're into. I'm going to go watch my son pitch again.